You are surrounded by people right now. Maybe it is a party. Maybe it is a packed train. Maybe it is a dinner table with people who are supposed to love you. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, without warning, a feeling creeps in. Not sadness exactly, not quite fear, just this quiet, hollow certainty that nobody here actually sees you, that you could disappear from this room and the noise would go on exactly the same. That feeling has a name. And the real answer for why you feel it is far stranger than anything you have been told. It is not about introversion. It is not about shyness. It is not even really about other people. It goes back much further than that. It goes back to a time when being truly alone was a death sentence, and your brain has never quite recovered from that fact. For most of human history, you did not live in a city. You did not live near thousands of strangers. You lived in a band, a tight cluster of around 50 to 150 people. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent decades studying human social cognition and arrived at a number now called Dunbar's number. The human brain, he argued, is cognitively built to maintain roughly 150 stable social relationships. Not thousands, not hundreds. 150 people whose names you know, whose faces you read, whose intentions you track. That is the social world your brain evolved to navigate. Every person in that band knew you, your history, your mood, your reliability. You were visible in a way that required no performance, no explanation, and your survival depended on that visibility. If the band stopped seeing you, you stopped eating. You stopped being protected. You stopped existing, in every meaningful sense. Being seen was not an emotional preference. It was a biological requirement. So your brain developed a threat detection system specifically for social invisibility. Psychologist John Cacioppo spent over 30 years studying loneliness and found something that changes the way you understand this feeling entirely. Loneliness, he discovered, is not simply the absence of company. It is a signal. The same way pain tells your body something is physically wrong, loneliness tells your brain that something is socially wrong. It is an alarm, a survival mechanism. And like all alarms, it does not care about context. It does not know that you are at a party. It only knows that you do not feel seen. That is the thing nobody tells you. You can be surrounded by 100 people and your brain can still fire the exact same distress signal it would fire if you were abandoned on a hillside 50,000 years ago. The crowd is not the opposite of loneliness. It never was. But it gets stranger. Because Cacioppo also found that loneliness does not just hurt, it physically changes you. When you feel chronically unseen, your brain shifts into a specific threat mode. Your cortisol levels rise. Your sleep fragments. Your immune system weakens. Your neurons become hypervigilant, scanning every face around you not for warmth, but for danger. Loneliness rewires perception. A lonely brain does not see a room full of potential friends. It sees a room full of potential threats. So the moment you feel that hollow disconnection at a party, your brain begins actively sabotaging your ability to reconnect. You become quieter, more guarded. You interpret neutral expressions as rejection. You pull back slightly, which other people read as coldness, which makes them pull back, which confirms everything your brain suspected. Cacioppo called this the loneliness loop, and once it starts, it is very hard to exit. Now think about what modern life has done to your brain's social operating system. You no longer live in a band of 150. You live in a city of millions, none of whom share your history or survival. You work in open-plan offices full of people whose names you half know. You scroll through feeds where you see hundreds of faces every hour, triggering your social recognition circuits at a rate they were never built to handle. And in the middle of all that noise, your ancient, overtuned detection system keeps asking the same question it always asked. But does anyone actually see you? Sociologist Sherry Turkle at MIT has documented something she calls being alone together. It describes what happens in rooms full of people who are all looking at screens. The bodies are present, the cognition is absent, and the brain, she found, registers the gap. Not consciously, but physiologically. The loneliness signal fires anyway, because you are technically surrounded, but nobody is tracking you. Nobody is reading your face. And your brain is still running ancient software that says, if nobody is watching you, something is very wrong. This is why you can have 1,000 followers and feel invisible. This is why you can sit in a meeting for 2 hours and feel like a ghost. The number of humans near you has never been the point. The point is whether any of them are genuine. That is what your ancestors called belonging. And it is what your brain is still looking for. But here's where it gets even stranger. Why can you have 1,000 followers and still feel invisible? Why can you sit in a meeting for 2 hours and feel like a ghost? That's what part 2 is about.